Hello there, welcome to Bryan Lomax Movie Talk. My review of Spectre, the fourth film in the Daniel Craig era of Bond. A film I was very much looking forward to upon its release. Craig had kind of become my favourite Bond at this point after the, for me, 1, 2, 3 punch of his three previous movies. I know a lot of people not too keen on Quantum of Solace. I liked it. But particularly Casino Royale and Skyfall, both 5-star movies for me. I was like, yes, I'm on board. Sam Mendes, obviously, returning as director was a big draw for me for this because of the work that he did with Skyfall. And we also get Hoyte van Hoytema on director of photography duties, taking over from Roger Deakins on the previous film. If I've said before that Roger Deakins is my favourite cinematographer, then right now Hoytema is probably my second favourite. I've admired this guy's work pretty much since Let the Right One In, which is my favourite horror movie of all time at this point. His body of work right now is pretty incredible. Every reason to be excited about this film. So I went in, I watched it, and I gotta say, I did really like it. I think it didn't quite have the same impact as Skyfall upon repeat viewings. I think it doesn't hold up too well to repeat viewings in certain places, but it's not quite the travesty that a lot of people seem to make it out, as is often the case with a lot of Bond movies that I seem to enjoy. The opening, for a start, is absolutely incredible. So it's this huge action set piece, as you come to expect with the opening of a Bond film, and we start out on this really long shot that takes us through these crowds and through a hotel room as we follow Bond to his eventual destination, which is basically to earwig in on this conversation that's going across in a building across the way. That basically kicks off his adventure in a real balls to the wall action scene, which, as I say, is brilliantly shot. Again, a lot of that is because of Hoytema's cinematography, but obviously Sam Mendes as a director as well. I feel like maybe this was a bit of a test run for him, this opening scene, for what he would then go on to do with 1917, in which he'd stretch the whole one take kind of shot for a whole film. Certainly delivers on the action front on this, and just the cinematography, the way it looks, it's just everything about this opening sequence is just spot on. It's brilliant, it's amazing, and it makes me glad to be back in Bond's world, particularly Daniel Craig's Bond's world. From there we get into the intro, the opening credits title sequence. I kind of quite like. Now, I've heard a lot of criticism about the opening credits title sequence, as well as the title song that goes with it by Sam Smith, which I actually quite like. I feel it's quite a classy song. It's not like Shirley Bassey real belt it out, but I don't know, it feels like quite a classy song. I'm not a Sam Smith fan. I can't name a single other song he's done, to be honest. I do believe he was like a winner or a runner-up on one of these reality shows. I could be wrong on that, but that's what I've heard. But no, I like his effort here. I think it's a good song, and I think it feeds in well with the themes of the film, where the story is going to go. And likewise, I like the opening title credit sequence, which I've heard a lot of people say is weird, because you have all these the typical Bond kind of motifs of naked women dancing around and stuff with guns coming in, but then you have this kind of octopus, this oil slicky looking octopus kind of enveloping them and stuff, and a lot of people have said, yeah, it's just weird, but it's good symbolism of the shadowy organisation that is Spectre, that is going to come to the fore in this film, and has kind of been there lingering in the background in the previous films. I don't know. I liked it. I got no problem with the opening title sequence. I think it's pretty well done, pretty well handled, and it's got a what I would say is a top tier Bond song, to be honest. I really like the theme to this. It's one that grows on me. Maybe not one that, right from the outset, like it's not like Live and Let Die, where boom, it hits you and that's it. Great song right from the get-go. but it's one that the more I listen to, I've really grown to appreciate. From there, we get into the film in which, as I say, Bond goes on this mission which basically it ties into his past and then reveals Spectre, the organisation that is Spectre, headed up, of course, by Blofeld, played here by Christoph Waltz. When he's with the right director, i.e. Quentin Tarantino, he really delivers. And then in other hands, he can be a bit slapsticky, which is appropriate in certain films, i.e. Green Hornet, things like that. And then other cases, maybe not so much. So yeah, it can be a bit of a mixed bag, Christoph Waltz. But we'll get to him a bit more in the latter half of this review, because he doesn't really show up until, not properly anyway, until the end of the film. He does have a few minor appearances before then. But no, we get Bond going on this mission, uncovering this organisation of Spectre, helped by the daughter of Mr. White, the character that kind of plagued Bond in his first two Daniel Craig iterations. White's daughter is named Madeline and is played here by Lea Seydoux, I think is how you pronounce that. I could be butchering that name. I like her in this role. I think she makes a pretty effective Bond girl. She kind of has... I think they're harkening back a little bit to... can't remember the name of the actress, but the Bond girl from On Her Majesty's Secret Service. This is someone that Bond is actually going to care enough about to get out of this life, get out of this the world of espionage and whatnot. But so I think they do a pretty good job with her character. It's nice to see Mr. White make a return and have such a strong... Like, he's only in one scene, but it's a really good sequence, I think, in which he kind of chats things over with Bond before putting a bullet in his head. So I like the fact that we get a real personal tie to him with the daughter and the connection that Bond makes with her. Quite a lot was made of Monica Bellucci kind of coming on board a Bond film. I know the producers had tried to get her in the world of Bond for some time, and she'd always kind of pushed back against it. Wasn't really interested. So when she came on board, that kind of spoke volumes that this was going to be something pretty big. If she signed on for it, it must be a pretty big role and that. And it's not really. I'd say it was quite disappointing the first time I watched it, because I did want to see a bit more of Monica Bellucci. I do like her as an actress. I feel like, she's in it for a few small scenes, beds Bond, as is expected, customary for the Bond girl. I think the only thing that is quite surprising is that she doesn't get killed. Craig's Bond particularly has a history of the minor Bond girl, because you tend to get two, don't you? You get the main Bond girl, who's his foil or whatever, and then the secondary one always tends to end up getting killed. Gemma Arterton in Quantum of Solace. The main one, Eva Green in Casino Royale, but also the secondary character in that Bond ended up getting into bed with. She got killed, and then in Skyfall you had it's a long history of these women kind of ending up dead. So it's quite refreshing to see Bellucci's character kind of walk away with her life. I do think that what she is given, she uses quite well. She does make an impact. You feel for this character and the world that she lives in. She's got this ever-tightening noose around her neck, I guess, because of the close associations to Spectre that her husband had. She's kind of embroiled in all that, maybe for no fault of her own. I do feel like we could have had more with her character, given the hurrah they made about it when they got her on board. Someone that I really do enjoy in this film is the character of Hinks, played by Dave Bautista. I'm quite a fan of Dave Bautista, it must be said. I know he's not going to be winning any Oscars at any point in his career. Presumably, anything's possible. But no, I've always liked Bautista. I do think he's got a good on-screen presence. He plays a pretty menacing villain here. He's kind of like the Jaws of Craig's era, I guess. You know, he doesn't really have a gimmick like, you know, old school Bond villains, but he's just a big hulking guy who you really don't want to mess with. And they set him up pretty well, you know, when he comes into this big room where Spectre's having this meeting, and he basically lays his cards on the table, says, look, I'm the one to go after Bond. Why are you the one to go after Bond? And he basically snaps a guy's neck. There's my credentials. Boom. You know, and it's just like right there, it just says this guy is a badass. You do not want to mess with him. And yeah, it's good seeing him then go up against Bond multiple times in the film, whether it's in a car chase or a car/airplane chase, and then ultimately a really brilliant fight sequence on board a train, that I think is probably my favourite fight scene in any Bond film. You know, I think prior to this I would have gone with Bond versus 006 in GoldenEye, but yeah, I think here, brilliant fight scene, really feel just, yeah, the brutality of it. Like this guy is a freight train, and Bond is well out of his league, and Bond is actually getting his ass handed to him, and if it's not for Madeline kind of stepping in and helping out, Bond would cop it. So that's nice to see as well. It's nice to see that actually Bond is out of his element here. He's up against someone who is literally gonna take him down, and it's only through tag teaming with Madeline that he overcomes his adversary. We don't really see Hinks get killed, you know, not truly. Like, obviously, if we were talking real world scenarios, what happens to him would definitely kill him. It would snap his neck, let's face it. But in the film world, let's face it, there is scope here to bring him back. So, you know, a la Jaws. In this instance, this is a villain I would like to see make a return. So, but I get the feeling that's not going to happen. I don't see his name in the cast of of No Time to Die. So yeah, unfortunately, that's probably not going to happen. But if they did, I'd be up for that. One of the things that the film explores is the idea, which has been touched on in previous films, that MI6 is really outdated, and that really computers do all the work these days. You know, you look at spying, espionage, all that kind of thing, surveillance. Really, it's all done with computers, and the use for someone like Bond, this blunt instrument that you send in at like real ground level stuff, is kind of becoming outdated. So the film looks at that really through this character of C, played by Andrew Scott, an actor that I quite like actually, although he always plays these kind of weird, creepy, slightly off balance in the mental department kind of characters. I like him, and as I say, this character, that they explore that theme. You know, he's the guy, he's the techie, he's the one who wants to get all countries united on one kind of computer system type grid, all kind of feeding their information into each other. Obviously, it turns out he's working for Spectre, so he's a bad guy, but just the idea that actually, yeah, we are living in that kind of time now where information is available at the touch of a button, and we don't know who is surveilling who, and who gets to have that power, who are we putting that control into the hands of. So yeah, it's interesting. I think, you know, the film is obviously trying to discuss something. I do think they could have done a bit more with it though. I think mostly it's the third act, the last act of this film, where it kind of falters. I wouldn't say it derails completely, but I really enjoy Spectre up until the last third. I reckon everything up to the train fight with Hinks is excellent. It's top tier Bond. I'm hooked. I'm really into the story. I'm intrigued. I think they build enough intrigue around Spectre as an organisation, and how Bond gets in there, and how he is maybe a little bit out of his element, out of his depth, I should say. And so, yeah, everything up to that point it has me. It has me on board. I'm there 100%. I think where the film starts to slightly derail is once Blofeld comes into it. Now, I do like Christoph Waltz here as Blofeld. I will in fact say that I think he is my favourite iteration of Blofeld, though it does need restating that I've never really kind of found any of the iterations of Blofeld to be quite what they should. You know, like this is Bond's Joker. You know, it's Spider-Man's Green Goblin. You know, it's the Green Goblin to Spider-Man, so to speak. That, you know, but the Bond equivalent. So it's just this guy should always be a big deal, and I've never felt that he is. Whenever we've had him in a Bond movie, I've never been grabbed by him as a villain the way that I feel I should. I think maybe On Her Majesty's Secret Service came the closest to making this guy a valid threat, but even then his plot was a little bit wonky. I still think that Waltz gives us, for my money, my favourite interpretation of the character. They make a mistake here, I think, by trying to tie Blofeld into so much of Bond's personal history. They knew each other as kids, you know, they grew up, they kind of had the same parents, although to Bond it was like a foster parent, and it's just like, so they're kind of like half brothers, and it's just, I feel like they're trying to really create a more personal dynamic, personal connection between these two characters than there needs to be. Taking away that personal element, taking away their childhood history, I think would actually add more than it gives. But as it is, yeah, it does feel like they're trying to force too much of a person element in there in order to raise the stakes. But I think the stakes are high enough. You know, when you look at the evils that Spectre is responsible for, that's enough. That's enough to say that Blofeld is someone who is, you know, top tier villainy who needs to be brought down. When we get to the facility where Blofeld is at the end, well, in that last act, I feel like we end up having two endings. Like we have this big kind of almost explosive finale at Blofeld's facility, which is quite ridiculous. Given the criticism that was levelled at Quantum of Solace for the way that Bond takes out the facility at the end of that film by ramming a car into the gas pipes, the gas lines, whatever it was. You know, people really went at that film because of how easily it was to destroy that building at the end. But that was a small compound, relatively small compound, you know, it was just this hotel. I never really had much of a problem with that. But here, yeah, Bond shoots out one gas pipe thing and the whole flipping facility goes up. Literally, you have this one moment which admittedly looks cool. Sam Mendes, you know, really going for broke with the visuals and that, trying to make the best explosion ever. But it's like literally Bond has just taken out this entire complex by shooting out one gas canister. You know, and this was a much bigger complex. This isn't the little hotel from Quantum of Solace. This is a monstrous, you know, inside a volcano kind of complex, and Bond just takes out the whole thing with a gunshot. And I'm like, wow, okay, that's a bit much. And this whole section, which really does feel like it should be the ending of the film, or the climax of the film, and we kind of go from there, and then we're back in London, and then we get another climax of the film in which Blofeld returns, you know, with the scar, and starts playing these games with Bond, and you're just like, dude, have you not learned anything? You know, given that you were the man behind the curtain in the previous 3 movies with Bond, trying to take him out, trying to stop him from thwarting your plans, have you not learned that by now, if you've got him there, you just need to put a bullet in his head? Because if you're going to play these games with him, he's going to get out of them, and he's going to come back, and he's going to come after you. So it's just, yeah, the stupidity of Blofeld in this in this film, in the end of this film, it takes the menace out of a character which should be, as I say, Bond's Joker. You know, it's his arch nemesis. And this has nothing to do with Christoph Waltz, okay? Like I say, Waltz gives my favourite iteration of this character. I like his performance. I like him as an actor. Where Blofeld stumbles in this film is down to the writing. That being said, I still love all the action beats. You know, some really incredible action sequences, not just in the final act, but throughout the whole film. And I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with it. I know Blofeld makes a return in No Time to Die. I don't know how big his role is going to be in that. He may fare better as the kind of villain who is pulling strings from the inside. You know, dial him down a bit, make him more effective, kind of like a Hannibal Lecter type villain. I do really like Spectre. All my problems with it come in the final act, and up until then I'm like, this is a 5-star Bond film. You know, I was sat there in the cinema watching it and I was like, I love this is great, this is up there with Skyfall, you know. And then we get the train fight scene, I'm like, man alive, I'm loving this, I'm gripped. We get to the compound with Blofeld and I'm still kind of into it. I'm enjoying some of the dialogue between Blofeld and Bond, hearing what the ultimate plan is and all that kind of stuff. But once that plan is revealed and Bond gets strapped in a chair and Blofeld starts playing silly beggars, I'm like, you've gone from a 5-star film and you've just literally blown a star off because of that. Now, because of how much I still enjoy this film and still like the characters and the brilliant action set pieces, particularly the one with the snow. I've not even got to Q as well. I really like Q in this. They give Q a bit more to do. I like the playful banter with him and Bond. Again, my favourite iteration of Q. I love Ben Whishaw as an actor anyway, but I think he's great here. And yeah, for me, he is Q. But yeah, so because of all that, because of so much stuff in it that I do still love, I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. It is still one of my favourite Bond films. It loses it in the last act, it does. But that's not the same as, say, Moonraker or Die Another Day, which loses it in the last half and then does a complete and utter nosedive. So yeah, you know, the ending, the last act doesn't totally disappear down the toilet. It's just disappointing. But there you go. That is my review of Spectre, and kind of almost wraps up my Daniel Craig era. Obviously, we've got No Time to Die, which has been pushed back. It gives them more time to work on the film in the edit and hopefully deliver something that won't feel rushed, but rather will feel like something that has had a lot of time to perfect and get right. We'll see, I guess. Here's hoping. Do comment down below and let me know what your thoughts are on Spectre, and tell me at this point, who is your favourite Bond? I will have to say that mine is Daniel Craig, despite some of the flaws in a couple of the movies. Overall, so far, I've loved his tenure as 007. So yeah, but what about you? Leave your comments below, let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching this video, and until next time, cracking.